Friday night at Scotiabank Arena marked a pivotal moment for Mitch Marner and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The former star, now adorned in the gold and gray of the Vegas Golden Knights, returned to the city that had been his hockey home for 9 seasons. His presence on the opposing bench was the culmination of a high-profile trade, an emotionally charged event following its announcement. This return to Toronto was more than just another game. It represented the fractured end of a relationship, the fading enthusiasm that once defined his tenure, and the intense public scrutiny that had shadowed his entire career with the Maple Leafs. The journey began in 2015, a day filled with promise and local pride. Toronto's top draft picks that year included names like Noah Hanifin, Ivan Provorov, and Dylan Strome, but it was Mitch Marner who captured the city's imagination. His family's elation at him being drafted by his hometown team was palpable. It was, by all accounts, a dream come true. Mark Hunter, then in charge of the draft, was a staunch advocate for Marner, leveraging his deep personal knowledge of the young player. Marner's initial enthusiasm was undeniable. His smile never left his face at the subsequent development camps, a testament to his joy and excitement. Following his draft, Marner was sent back to the OHL London Knights, where he continued to hone his skills. He enjoyed significant success, winning the Memorial Cup alongside future NHL talents Christian Dvorak and Matthew Tkachuk. His performance there solidified his readiness for the professional ranks. In the 2016-17 season, he officially joined the Maple Leafs, quickly aligning with Austin Matthews and William Nylander to form what was widely regarded as the team's young cornerstones. Marner was known for his profound love of hockey and a particular appreciation for subtle praise, always wanting to matter and make a difference within the team dynamic. This desire for affirmation was evident early on, after Game 1 of the 2019 playoffs against Boston, where he scored twice. Marner was beaming from the praise he received from his teammates. However, the euphoria of early success soon gave way to more complex issues, particularly concerning his contract negotiations. Toronto ultimately lost that 2019 series in 7 games, a defeat that coincided with the expiration of Marner's entry-level contract. It was during these negotiations that 2 significant grievances reportedly began to fester, having lasting consequences on his relationship with the organization. The first issue revolved around entry-level bonuses. Marner did not receive the full bonuses, a point of contention often compared to Austin Matthews, who had received his full bonuses a year later. There was internal debate within the organization about whether former general manager Lou Lamoriello was primarily responsible for this decision, or if it was a team-wide move aimed at maintaining cap flexibility. Regardless of the origin, this became a long-term talking point, much to the exasperation of the Maple Leafs management. The second perceived slight involved his playing age. Marner never played in the NHL as an 18-year-old, unlike some of his peers who made the jump directly from junior hockey. The Maple Leafs consistently argued that this was a deliberate and correct developmental decision, allowing him to mature further in the OHL. Yet these 2 points, whether legitimate grievances or not, created a narrative of perceived unfairness that would linger throughout his tenure. After a tense and public negotiation period, Marner eventually signed a 6-year, $65.41 million extension in 2019. This contract, while substantial, did not alleviate all underlying tensions. Post-contract, Marner became notably hypersensitive to social media criticism. He was known to actively read replies and search for reactions, a habit that players and staff attempted to help him manage. Being a native Torontonian, the external criticism was often amplified through his family and friends, further intensifying the pressure. This constant barrage of feedback likely contributed to his eventual desire to move to the Western Conference. On the ice, Marner's performance was characterized by emotional volatility. When he was playing well, he was enormously effective, described as a music master, party planner, who elevated the team's play. Conversely, when he struggled, he sunk lower emotionally and was harder to pull out of a funk. The 2023 playoffs exemplified this pattern. He delivered a phenomenal first-round performance against Tampa Bay, registering 11 points in just 5 games. However, his output significantly declined in the second round against Florida, where he managed only 3 points in 5 games. Despite other players also struggling, Marner wore it most, bearing the brunt of public and media criticism. The off-season following the 2023 playoffs brought significant organizational changes and further complexities to Marner's situation. In May 2023, Kyle Dubas was fired as general manager, and Brad Treliving was subsequently hired to take over the role. This leadership transition occurred amidst ongoing discussions about the team's core and future direction. A pivotal development came in August 2023 when Auston Matthews signed a 4-year contract extension. This extension was the culmination of groundwork laid during the summer of 2022, with Matthews reportedly assuring the Maple Leafs that he would re-sign if the team maintained stability and a clear path forward. Notably, Marner did not provide similar assurances when questioned about his own future with the organization. This contrast in commitment from key players contributed to internal discussions regarding a potential trade involving Marner. Despite these deliberations, team president Brendan Shanahan ultimately prioritized betting on the existing talent, choosing to retain Marner. The decision was made to allow Marner's no-move clause to activate, a move that anticipated another brutal negotiation when his current contract approached its end. Further solidifying the team's financial structure, William Nylander signed an 8-year, $92 million contract in January 2024. Marner reportedly expressed genuine happiness for Nylander's new deal. Internally, the Maple Leafs envisioned Marner's subsequent contract falling between Nylander's $11.5 million average annual value and Matthews' $13.25 million. This financial framework was part of the strategic planning for the team's long-term salary cap management. The 2024 playoffs proved to be a nightmarish experience for the Maple Leafs and a critical turning point for Marner. The team lost to the Boston Bruins in a soul-crushing Game 7 overtime. During this series, several key players were hampered by injuries or illness. Nylander missed games due to migraines, Matthews battled an illness, and goaltender Joseph Woll was injured. Marner, returning from a high ankle sprain, played all 7 games but managed only 3 points. This performance drew immense criticism, making him seriously consider leaving Toronto. Despite general manager Brad Treliving publicly stating Marner played through injuries, Marner reportedly felt the Leafs did not adequately defend him against the pervasive public scrutiny. Following the playoff exit, the Maple Leafs actively investigated trade options for Marner. Discussions with the Carolina Hurricanes included an offer for Martin Necas, but Marner was not expected to waive his no-move clause for Carolina. Conversations also took place with the Vegas Golden Knights. While Shea Theodore was considered off-limits, Alex Pietrangelo was briefly discussed but ultimately dismissed due to concerns about his health. The Maple Leafs believed Vegas was Marner's preferred destination if he were to leave Toronto. Conversely, Vegas reportedly felt they could acquire him without a significant trade package if he became available. Unconfirmed reports suggested an 8-year, $96 million extension offer from the Leafs, but negotiations eventually faded. Questions arose as to why the Leafs did not make a Steven Stamkos-style pitch to convince Marner to stay. The Maple Leafs organization bristled at the suggestion that they did not want him, feeling they had adequately defended him publicly. However, a palpable sense of fatigue and weariness had set in, leading to increasingly strained conversations between the players' camp and the team. Despite the uncertainty surrounding his future, veteran players noted that Marner did not act differently, denying any prior knowledge that his time in Toronto was nearing its end. This period of personal and professional introspection coincided with significant on-ice achievement. Marner achieved a career-high 102 points during the regular season and delivered a massive performance in the Four Nations final. Off the ice, he also expressed excitement about becoming a father, indicating a focus on his personal life amidst the professional turmoil. Before the new year, Marner's agent, Darren Ferris, communicated to the Maple Leafs that Marner might consider a trade, specifically to a Western Conference contender. The Carolina Hurricanes, who had previously shown interest in Marner, acquired Mikko Rantanen, who was not re-signing with his team, and were prepared to pivot. The Leafs sought clarity from Marner. If he desired to stay, they would work to retain him. Otherwise, Rantanen represented the best available replacement option. Ultimately, Marner declined a trade to Carolina. Toronto then attempted to facilitate a 3-way trade involving Vegas and Carolina, but this complex maneuver did not materialize. Rantanen subsequently confirmed he would not come to Toronto, a decision communicated just 8 hours before the trade deadline. The story of Marner's impending trade broke approximately 24 hours later. The reactions among his teammates were mixed. Initially, there was a sense of relief that the trade deadline meant all of this was over. This was quickly followed by shock upon learning that no ongoing negotiations were actually happening, indicating a significant disconnect between public perception and internal realities. This realization among players clarified the true circumstances of Marner's departure, highlighting the breakdown in communication and trust that had developed. The final playoff loss for the Maple Leafs was a soul-crushing home ice Game 7 defeat to the Florida Panthers. This loss fueled debate regarding whether the outcome would have differed had the Leafs won that series, potentially altering the trajectory of their core players. Following their elimination, John Tavares publicly expressed his commitment to remaining with the team, whereas Marner offered a non-committal response regarding his future. A particularly disturbing incident occurred when a social media user posted Marner's home address in a reply to a reporter's tweet. The reporter deleted the tweet after receiving an urgent call from the Maple Leafs organization. Marner later contacted the reporter to express gratitude, underscoring the profound impact of social media scrutiny on his family. While this incident was not the singular cause of his departure, it was widely perceived as the end of his tenure in Toronto, symbolizing the intolerable pressure he faced. The Maple Leafs and Golden Knights finalized the Marner trade during the draft weekend. Since joining Vegas, Marner has performed well, even playing at center due to various injuries within the Golden Knights roster. Vegas secured an overtime victory in their first meeting against Toronto, further solidifying the narrative of Marner's new chapter. The upcoming game in Toronto represents his big one, marking his emotional return to the Scotiabank Arena as an opponent. Looking ahead, speculation abounds regarding the crowd's reaction to Marner's return. This event will undoubtedly prompt further discussion about the long-term impact on Marner's legacy as a Toronto-born player and the complex relationship between athletes, their hometown teams, and the demanding fan base. The ongoing discourse will continue to analyze how the relationship fractured between the player, the organization, and the fans, providing a case study in the modern pressures of professional sports. This return game will serve as a definitive moment, encapsulating a journey marked by immense potential, unfulfilled expectations, and the ultimate separation of a star from his boyhood team. The narrative of Mitch Marner and the Maple Leafs has reached its conclusion, leaving behind a complex tapestry of triumph, disappointment, and the enduring question of what might have been.